before we start this video, I just want to say, let me get all these things I gotta say off my chest here. And if you have to blame anybody for this happening, it's James's fault. Blame James. If anybody's upset about anything that we're doing, and the reason why we're doing this, which I explain, just blame James. Don't be mad at me for changing projects like I do, but just we usually try and blame the ADD. It is kind of partial to that. And we can kind of blame shipping people, but the main bad guy here is James. So if you want to beat anybody up in the comments, just blame James. It's his fault. That's what we're going with. The reason we're doing this is because of James. But I appreciate y'all watching. Bear with me. Got a lot to say on this first episode. After that's done, we're just powering through it and we're getting this done. Because we got 3 months to get it done. So, again, thanks for watching and blame James.
For those of you wondering why we're not painting the Mazda, that's it. It's really, really cold. The last couple days, since Sunday, we pulled the Ranger out because we just can't keep parts for the Ranger. We have been struggling with the Ranger for weeks. So, I brought the Caprice in the garage. We're going to mix it up. If you've never been here before, we're building stuff like that. We're building a Ranger on hydraulics. It's going to hop and three-wheel and all that stuff. We built the bag Mazda and body dropped Mazda on the channel. Tons of videos on it. This, again, probably a bad idea. I got about not quite 3 months left before mini nats. I'm not going to be in the show. I'm just going to go and hang out with my friends, hang out with y'all. We need to mix it up. I would like to go down there and be able to cruise the strip. I'm going to be bringing at least 4 of my friends with me. And 4 friends don't fit inside of a single cab body dropped mini truck. And it would be kind of messed up to make people ride in the bed the entire weekend. This has 4 doors. And it goes up and down. The only problem, since I built this car in 2019, that I've ever had with it, the car's been great. It smokes. It's wore out. It's the way I want it to be. It's ratty. I'll explain all that. But the only problem I've ever had with this car is the fact that GM designed the frame to go from about a half an inch to an inch in the rear all the way up to almost 3 inches. It sits like this. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next couple weekends, month and a half, and we'll bounce around. If the snow melts, we're going to get back on the Ranger. A lot of stuff we can do to it outside. This is going to be sort of my main focus. I'm going to hit it kind of hard. We need to put this on the ground. We want to take away that 3 inches. We want to take away that inch. We want this to sit flat. The frame sits flat on the ground as it is. We need that wheel arch to match that wheel arch. But that one's going to be a little bit lower. We're going to body drop this car. I haven't seen any videos on YouTube of people body dropping cars. So my mini trucking guys, don't get discouraged. This pertains to mini trucks. That's why the title says mini truck inspired. We're doing mini truck stuff. It's just a Caprice. Caprices have always been in that category of mini truck, bag truck world since that stuff's began. We're going to do a traditional. I'd rather not, but I have no way of lifting this entire body up off the chassis and then putting it somewhere and bringing the chassis in the garage and then the whole back and forth. I don't have that capability, and a lot of y'all don't either. So this is a good opportunity, kind of like we did the Mazda, to see what can be done in a little garage. Like, I got 1.5 feet here and maybe a foot back there of room, and we're going to get it done. So if you've never been here before, there's a ton of videos on all of these cars. There's a ton of videos to come. Like I said, we're in the middle of building a Ranger. Nothing but problems with parts. I still haven't received the 3-link parts for that. and I ordered them in November. So we're getting after it. We got a good bit of work to do to this. It goes up and down. It runs. It drives. The only thing that we need to solve is getting it closer to the ground. And to me, this car would be perfect after that. There's a lot of stuff on this car that is rough. And I understand, like, it's a really solid car. It has one really bad dent, and the rest of its dings. I understand it could easily get painted. I bought this car out of the woods. I'll add in some pictures. I paid $500 for it. I brought a battery. I flushed the carburetor out, and I drove it out of the woods. And this is in my mind. I always wanted to build a car that was a lowrider that looked like it was built in the 70s or the 80s or the early 90s. And then somebody parked it in the woods and then drug it out. Kind of like a Christine lowrider. Horror movie. If you saw it in a parking lot, you probably wouldn't want to approach it. That was my mindset when I built this. And it's still my mindset. I am completely cool with the comb over, sketchy, probably shouldn't touch it, roof with the leaf collector, the faded paint, all of it. The interior's falling apart. That's kind of what makes this car to me. It is like a complete opposite of everything that I usually do. Like the Mazda, it's going to get a beautiful paint job when the weather breaks. The Ranger, it's going to be nice. Everything. Nice paint jobs, shiny. This, complete opposite. It's ratty. We trimmed the bumpers like a year ago on the channel. And just let them rust. It is what it is. It's exactly the way I want the car to be. But it needs to be 3.5-ish inches lower. So if you've never been here before, I would appreciate it if you subscribed. We're just going to jump into it because I got a ton of work to do. We need to work on pulling this entire front clip off, hopefully as an assembly. Both of the front and the rear bumpers need to come off. The interior needs to be completely stripped down to basically nothing. And we're just going to start cutting into it. We need to go over, make a list of things that we're going to run into that I need to order and have hopefully on order and show up relatively soon so we can get it done. One, for sure, I got to figure out the intake because it's way too tall. I'll explain some more on that later. I got to do an electric fan conversion because to get the car to lay out flat like it is now, I had to raise the engine an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So the intake's going to be an issue. The radiator's going to be an issue. We're going to run into some problems, shift linkages, things like that. But we're just going to cut into it and figure it out later. If you've never body dropped anything, we did this on the Mazda. I mean, it's a tiny percentage of the welding that we did on the Mazda. But it's cool. So make sure you subscribe. We're doing a giveaway once we hit 4,000 subs. We're going to be doing giveaways more often. I actually got some stuff to give away to y'all after we do the t-shirt giveaway. That's actually kind of cool. It's not t-shirts, not stickers. It's actual products. So stick around. There's a lot of information to come. But I appreciate y'all watching. Let's just jump into taking stuff apart. You don't really think about how large these hoods are until you think about the fact that you gotta lift this hood off of the car. That's like a solid 4 feet of hood span. So everything under here looks rough. Again, it's supposed to be ratty. I've been slacking on at least power wash in the engine bay. It's a clapped out, old 305 with who knows how many miles on it. But it still goes down the road. So until it stops doing that, that's what's going to stay in here. Very, very simple setup. I can post still pictures. I did partial wrap. I never did the cylinder tubes, so the cylinders kind of flop around. It's my fault. It kind of is what it is. It doesn't really bother me. Eventually, I would like to do cylinder tubes, which locate the cylinder. Oh, and I apologize for that 7 minutes worth of talking. Just a little introduction, so we understand where we're standing at here. And the mini truck getting straight away. Again, ADD stuff, when the cameras aren't rolling, Pre-YouTube, it was really, really bad. Just saying. So a couple things that I have noted, because you need to hit these things, get a mental note of exactly what's going to happen before you try and tackle this. For instance, I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose, which it doesn't really work very well at all anyway, wiper motors. I'm pretty sure once the engine comes up 3 inches, that gigantic wiper motor assembly is going to be in the way. The AC never worked. I don't care about it. It's a fair weather car. It doesn't really matter. That whole box needs to be removed. It does have heat, so we're going to try and retain heat. They're going to lose the inner fender wells. Like I had said, the engine has been raised 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, whatever it was, for me to get the trans pan off the ground and the oil pan off the ground. When I did that, it brought the fan really, really close to the top of that shroud. So we're going to have to do an electric fan. I need to take some measurements, order up a electric fan setup, because that's kind of old junk anyway and halfway wore out. The shift linkage is going to be a little sketchy. Probably going to have to shorten the rod. Hopefully that's all we need to do. I hope that joint for the steering has enough give in it. If not, we'll have to order a new joint, make up our own swivels here. Not a big deal. All of that stuff's readily available. I can even buy it off Amazon if I had to. This is probably going to be the trickiest thing, is the intake. And if you take a look from here, it's like right there. It's a factory aluminum intake that I pulled off, sandblasted, and clear coated. It has an adapter plate to run an Edelbrock. I know Edelbrocks, some people hate them. I got it off Craigslist. It's really cheap, so it doesn't really matter. And you either need to come up with another intake, like an aftermarket Edelbrock, a Chinese Jegs 1 Summit, whatever it may be. I might have to run another intake. I'd rather not, because I'd rather not sink money into this engine, because again, it's old, it's wore out. I'm going to attempt to make an air filter setup for this. I ordered some stuff offline. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to have to visit that. That is really my only concern. Shift linkages, intake, and then finding room for my legs and my head. And my friends, because we're all kind of hefty boys. So outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. I need to get a bag or a box of Ziploc bags. We're going to go through and pull everything apart and bag it individually with labels so I don't lose anything. Because I know this guy that just kind of went all in on his Mazda and took everything apart and threw everything in a box, and then he had to figure out how to put it back together like 4 months later. Don't recommend it. So we're going to actually try and bag everything for this one. I'm going to attempt to get the entire front clip off in one piece. I know this is a lot of talking. I know. I apologize. But for people that want to tackle this, these are things that they need to know. So I just want to get it all out there. First episode. A lot of talking in this one, and then just bear with me, okay? So to go along with the rattiness, I built these plates, the whammy tank, and a rack. I went with the pre-rust. If anybody's interested on how to do that, I can post a video. It's really simple. Not very many people are interested in making stuff rust. I think because we only need about an inch in the rear, 1.5 by the time you get to the back of the car, I think that I can do away with the really simple bolt setup and come up with something different here, because this is going to be up into the actual trunk lid. So I'll have to basically redesign that, but I'm hoping I can keep my rear batteries. These batteries were purchased like 6 months ago. I really would rather not split the setup. But yeah, there's a lot to take apart. This is a big car. significantly smaller since we took the bumpers. The car is like a full 1.5 feet shorter, something like that. It's crazy. We're gonna have to change the rear cylinders because they're already digging into the deck lid, which I never cared about because again, rat roddy stuff. My buddy James gives me crap all the time about this car because it's so much different how I treat this car versus other cars. Not saying I neglect it, but it's like I let a lot of stuff slide compared to my other vehicles. I figured before I take it apart, we will raise it up and down a few times just to get the satisfaction of that happening. Apparently I have the front slowdown way open. It's already like 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, so I'm going to go ahead and drain the radiator, and then I'm going to go to bed. And we're going to pick this back up tomorrow and start really disassembling it. We'll see how far we get tonight, though. Alright. It is the next day. I didn't get anywhere last night. I drained the radiator, and I went inside and passed out. Went to the dollar store after work, picked up some cheapy off-brand Ziploc bags. I gotta figure out how to get this 4-foot by 4-foot square hood off of this car that is absolutely massive by myself. So, kind of thinking, got these old people knee pad things. Kind of thinking something like that. The whole goal of this is don't break the windshield. I don't really care about scratching the paint, obviously, but let's wish me luck. Also, maybe not bend anything. That's different there. I had to measure this thing out. Maybe it's bigger than I thought. As I ripped the emblem off the grill. Wow, that was extremely awkward. That is a whole lot of sheet metal. Oh, nice. Got a new gouge to add to the collection. Wow, that is really dirty. That is way dirtier than it seemed without the hood. That's pretty bad. It's pretty sweet. I got a lot to do. That is good thing I don't care about the paint. That is a huge gouge. I'm gonna get the vacuum out and do something about this so that doesn't eventually turn into a fire hazard later on. Nice big old scratch there. Figured I'd show this before I pulled it off. When I was putting this car together, I was trying to do some super low dollar stuff here. This is a spray paint can, a couple AN fittings I got from a swap meet. I drilled this one out. I got one of those free Slurpee straws that's made out of aluminum from 7-Eleven. And that was my overflow. I'm still going to keep it. I'll just probably have to remount it once we change the fan setup, but figured I'd show that. I thought it was cool. This is extremely straightforward stuff here. Ziploc bag. Hood. Throw it in the box. I'm going to continue to do this with everything that I take off, just so I don't get anything mixed up, because it is very easy to do when you're working on something the size of a small boat. Go through, zip all of this stuff off. That didn't sound good. So when I originally set this car up, I set it up with 13s. I'll post a picture on here. It's had like 3 different sets of wheels on it since I built it. I know, I got a problem with ordering wheels. It's just, Chinese wheels are so cheap, and some of them look really good, and I am a wheelaholic person. Regardless, I got some stuff I got to get through. Got some problems. I ordered 13s to go back on this. When I set the car up, I set up all of the control arms, the C-notch, everything is set up for a 13. It's had 14s on it for like 3 years. The 14s, when the car lays out, touch the inner fenders already, especially the Astro Supremes, and they look really, really good on there. But I think that any of y'all understand, after 4 or 5 years of the same wheel on a car, in my mind, I get bored. I want to mix it up. That's why we're cutting it up. That's why we're doing a body drop. I got a fresh set of 13s coming for it. I think it's really going to change the look of the car and really add to it and make it look nice. I don't know when they're going to show up, but we're going to set that back up for this. These inner fenders aren't going to work regardless, so we're going to yank them out. Eventually, I don't know when, we'll put some inner fenders back in it. Maybe it'll be way down the road. That doesn't have to be done before mini nets, because I really don't care. Again, we're trying to get this thing as low as possible, as quick as possible, and have it looking good. The fine details, we can worry about that later. I think we're going to leave the pumps hooked up, at least for a while, until we get most of the car apart. The front end's already lighter. You can see it just in the way this thing acts. This could either go okay or bad. Not really sure which. Hopefully, okay. Oh, I didn't cut a zip tie. Okay. Not wide enough for all this. This stuff is really sharp. Okay, not bad. Now I gotta put the massive hood out here somewhere. I'm not really sure where to put it where it's not gonna get ruined. Probably somewhere in the yard. In the grass. Well, what's supposed to be the grass. I really hate the snow. It makes it feel like everything is so much harder than it actually is. Oh, not bad progress for like an hour and a half, I think is what it's been. Yeah, about an hour and a half. All right, what else can we get done tonight? I'm definitely gonna say this thing's been in an accident at some point in its life. I know the rear end's been replaced because it's clear that they cut the rear clip off and put something from like a junkyard in there because it's a different color. There was a whole lot of washers stacked on the driver's side, I believe, and not a whole lot of washers on the passenger side. Which, again, I don't care. $500 car, still looks cool, drives down the road straight. It's fun to drive, so we're the level of not caring about that stuff is pretty high with this one. I think we might finish off the night with pulling that massive windshield wiper box off. I gotta figure out how much I can trim off this guy. I'd still like to retain heat, but the control arm is clearly gonna be in the way of the AC part of that box by the time it's all said and done. So my buddy Justin has a universal heater core in his car from like Jegs or something. I think I might take a page out of his book, just shave that part of the firewall and be done with it. And just put a universal box in there. There's a ton of room back there, so that's probably going to be the move. Probably just remove that entire thing and not think twice about it. That sounds like a plan. I'm going to go ahead and yank this off now. This is really involved. The linkages and stuff that are involved with this thing is kind of wild, and the motor is huge. There's a bunch of lines in here that it's never had the reservoir because they turn into crumbly dust because they're old. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking to myself and start taking stuff apart. Well, it's another day. We're back in the garage. I passed out. The couch got me when I got home, but I actually got back up off the couch and made it in the garage. It is kind of late, so I'm gonna try and squeeze in an hour or two, see how far we can get, and hopefully we make some good progress. We got the front clip off last night. It's a pretty good starting point. We have a way more access. I think in order to get all of that big old box of stuff out of there properly without breaking a bunch of stuff, I know I'm not going to use it, but hoarder tendencies. I need to take the interior apart. All of it. Like every single bit. I really don't want to pull the dash because the dash is brittle 80s GM terrible plastic and it's probably going to crumble into little pieces. So I'll probably save that till last. For now, we're gonna start with the seats and the carpet and see how far we get. This is like I said, I've had this car for 5 years, 6 years, whatever it's been now. It's been a mouse house for a lot of that. So I'm fully expecting to find a lot of poop and whatever else inside of this car. Because it seems like every time I get in it, there's shredded up papers. There's nothing to eat in here, but it's a motel for sure, and I'm rambling, so let's just get to work. I am really surprised that all of this stuff works. And it's a good thing, because there's no way I'd be able to get the seat out if it didn't work. It's really slow. When I put this car together, I never took the seats out of it. So this is a first time. See what we can find up underneath these nasty things. Oh, a lot of rat poop. A little bit of money. Definitely opened up some funk. Receipt for when I bought some milk in 2020 for $2. $2 even. I don't know how much milk is now. I feel like it's like almost $4, but oh, that's weird. I never had any spare keys for this car. I can't even get the key back out of it. Yeah, I've been carrying what looks like a valet key around. This is the original GM key, covered in rat pee that was glued to the carpet, basically. And these keys are significantly less wore out than mine. They're wore out, but mine are the point where you can't even read the labels on them. That's kind of cool. Spare keys. Probably shouldn't lose those, but yeah, not as bad as I thought. I thought the passenger side's probably going to be worse, but I thought for sure it'd be just nothing but rat poop. Definitely have to bag all of these little tiny screws for all of these little beauty plates that tend to, I'm surprised they didn't break, but they tend to fall apart. There's a lot of bolts holding this seat in. I'm taking a lot of seats out of a lot of cars, and I've never seen 6 bolts holding one seat in. It's kind of wild. And all of the random trim panels that slowly disintegrate on this car. I was going to say, maybe we'll put them back on one day, but I doubt it. We got about 54 cents. I put that in the endless part fund. I was kind of scared to attempt it. I know I've rolled the carpet back because I ran my ground wires up here. That way I didn't have them in the trunk and I could be lazy. I don't remember if I just poked a hole in the carpet, which I probably did from the bottom. I don't know if I've attempted to take those out. Usually those don't just come out. Usually that's an ordeal, and it ends with a hammer and a chisel. Let's see what happens, I guess. Let's see. Okay. Not bad. Again, I'm surprised. Which means that there's probably going to be something really terrible later on. If these are coming out so easily. When you go to car shows at like church things, they give you juice boxes or
Little huggy barrels. I didn't realize how much stuff I had packed in this thing. Yeah, there's definitely more rat, mouse remnants on this side. Here's a brand new one of those cheapy masks that everybody had to wear. Stuff under the seat. And the little tag that was on those keys apparently. 87 Chevy Caprice. It says blue. This car don't look very blue to me, but whatever. I figured out where the mice have been hanging out and peeing and pooping, because it ruined all the sheet metal I put back here. I should be able to clean it up, but it's definitely looking pretty rough compared to what I left it at. There's a lot of acorns, poop, and rust. These are usually not fun, especially on old stuff. Okay. We gotta run into some problem soon, because this has been coming apart way too easy. I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. It's weird that they go to the extent of bolting in the seat with 6 bolts for one person. And you have 2 people potentially here. And then they use a single seatbelt strap to potentially hold 2 people in the car. It seems kind of wild. If you're going to be pulling seatbelts out, highly recommend impact rated version of these, because I can't tell you how many non-impact ones I've broken just using a ratchet. That thing holds up to this, which is kind of surprising that they can actually withstand that now. Man, that is heavy. I think it's because it's soaking wet. And it's snowing outside again. I got a pretty clean slate here, and surprisingly, the only rust is where the mice lived. Everything else is looking pretty good. That's with old, disintegrated window seals and everything. It's not bad. I've been staring at this thing for about 45 minutes now, trying to figure out where to make these cuts at. The only things that I'm kind of trying to figure out is if I traditional it, which I almost have to, it's going to be into the doors. The doors stick into the body so much on this portion, but the frame is right here. It's going to be a little tricky, but we'll figure it out. I think it's going to 100% be one of those things I'm going to cut it. I'm just going to figure it out afterwards, because I got to get it done. And I'll put some pictures up of the Mazda. If you haven't seen the Mazda build, the Mazda doesn't look body dropped. When you look inside the cab, it doesn't look body dropped at all. I recessed the seats into the floor. I
angled all of the stuff. I cut the angles of everything to where the carpet lays in there. First glance, you wouldn't even suspect it. And that's a traditional body drop. I don't think I care to do all that in this car. I don't really care if it has carpet in it. I'm going to buy carpet. And it'll go in there eventually, but the ultimate goal is low. We're going to get low. We'll figure it out afterwards. If we don't figure it out, we'll cut it off and do it again. Like I say all the time, it's just sheet metal. It's really simple. If I have to notch the doors, I'll notch the doors. It is what it is. This is a little different than a truck. The body mounts lay on top of the frame rather than on the side of the frame because the frame runs on the outside of the body. So it's going to be a little tricky. I've never done a car, so that's what we're doing. But this video is getting pretty long. I think this is a good stopping point for this week. I appreciate y'all stopping by and watching the video. I know this isn't mini trucking content, but it's the same thing. It's just really big. It's a crew cab. Outside of that, it's the same idea. This goes along with any of the trucks. Same principle, just a whole lot more sheet metal. We'll just say it's like a Suburban with a trunk. But I'm rambling. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Go back a couple videos. Watch the giveaway. After the giveaway, once we hit that 4,000 mark, free t-shirts, free stickers. And after that, I have some other stuff to give away. So if y'all want to stick around, I got some products to give away. Some aftermarket stuff. Not from me, from like brand name stuff. So I'm not going to give away what it is. It's not super spectacular, but it is free. So stick around. There's new videos every Sunday. And we're going to get after this. Next video, I hope to have the dashboard out, the rear seats out. After all that stuff's out, I need to start pulling the hydraulics out so we can cut the floor in the trunk. There's a lot to take apart before we start putting back together. But we should be taking a grinder, a sawzall, and whatever else I need to take to this and start cutting the body next week. And after that, it's just filling in the gaps. But again, I'm rambling, and I'll see y'all next Sunday. Thank you for watching.